Good morning, you wonderful people, and again you join me here on this beautiful day in East Sussex in the Ashdown Forest in the south of England, and today we're talking indirectly about watches and wonders. Last week, or last episode whenever I release these, we covered what I think is the most likely new releases. However, Watches and Wonders does also bring out another side of me, which is a real, meaningful and tangible sense of luxury fatigue. So much boasting, so many huge sums of money, so much sort of almost shameless consumerism that I think Watches and Wonders actually does bring some real excitement, but it does take some of the sort of class and enjoyment out of watch collecting a little bit, because it materialises and hypes everything to such a crazy degree that it's quite hard to feel sort of real genuine connections with these new products that we're seeing. Now, interestingly, I've thought a lot about this over the years, and I've wondered whether my sort of simmering irritation at the hype of watch collecting is actually just a reflection of one's means.
Just looking at a picture though, he's quite rich these days. Have you seen
Oh, whatever. He's got a nutritionist or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever. I'm not impressed by shopping.
matter.
It's shopping. If you're rich, every activity is just shopping.
If I had the means to buy these hype pieces and, you know, the Pateks, the APs, the Mosers, the Langers, and get them on wrist the minute they're released and be the first in the world to have them and things, would I still feel this way? Of course, I will never know for certain, but knowing my character slightly, I suspect that I would still feel the same way even so. So I don't think it's necessarily a question about material means. I think that for a lot of watch collectors, particularly those that might be inclined to, say, follow a small independent YouTuber like myself, talking just about the love, joy and pleasure of watch collecting, but I think most of you may probably agree, but I'd be interested to see what you think. So for me, I find myself spending a lot of time thinking that these watches live and exist in a different world, and most of us, whether we're well-to-do or not, are living through a cost of living crisis. There's big things happening in the world, you know, there's wars across the world, there's political instability, there is a sort of slightly challenging time that we're living through at the moment. And of course our hobbies and watch collecting and such like do form a really rather amazing form of escapism from some of the difficult stuff that's going on, and it's something that is just so innocent and enjoyable. We could all be out spending our money in pubs or on, you know, other various illegal things that are available in the world, but we're not. We're spending our money on watches and just enjoying talking about watches, and you know, what's wrong with that? And the answer is, well, nothing's wrong with it, really. People enjoy what they enjoy, don't they? And you shouldn't have to apologise for that. When I look at a lot of these releases that are coming out, I find myself thinking, who's this even for? I'm not sure it really is for me, to be honest, both in the sort of the way it makes me feel, but also in the quite literal sense. If you do enjoy this kind of unbiased, unsponsored watch content, then this is very much the channel for you, and do feel free to hit that subscribe button. I don't live in anybody's pocket, we're just watch collectors going for a walk, having a chat. And I find myself being reminded of something which is turning into a bit of a catchphrase for this channel, but also something which is very much true in my own watch collecting, which is price and enjoyment are not implicitly connected. Now, a lot of these sort of super high-end, high-value watches are technically very admirable and are quite interesting as feats of engineering and such like, but it feels so detached from the world in which I think 95% of us actually live. And I include the fact that watch collectors, probably by average, are a fairly affluent bunch as a rule. But when you're surrounded by constant talk of value, of money, of this watch is 60,000, 70,000, 100,000, it brings out a certain amount of apathy in those of us that move in the more normal space of watch collecting. And of course, so many of us will remember the hype beast periods we saw during the pandemic, and I think a lot of that side of the watch collecting hobby was quite exciting to be in as lots of people started sharing our hobby with us. But it also brought a lot of attention, a lot of talking about money, a lot of flexing, a lot of sort of crypto bros, all their Daytonas, and I think it sort of left a bit of a sour taste in the mouth. And when I think about some of the glitz and glamour that surrounds some of the big watch events and some of the big releases, I'm slightly haunted and reminded by that. I would very much like to see what a new Rolex Coke would be like, but the fact that it's going to be unobtainium for several years, probably released in a full gold variant, which prices it out of, I think, what, even a large number of die-hard watch collectors would be prepared to pay, at least without significant commitment and saving and stuff like that. The whole thing leaves you feeling a bit tired by it all, but maybe that's just me, you know. Now, this isn't moaning necessarily, it's more just a reflection of where I think a lot of people's heads are at. Certainly the collectors I speak to often have a very similar feeling about the way that all of this is working. I'm going to tackle this hill, but slowly, because it's hard to walk and talk. And it brings me back to an old sort of equation. We all know that when you're talking about expensive cars, expensive wine, expensive watches, investment and return on investment are not linear, they're not proportional. You spend an extra £50,000 over 100k on a car, and actually potentially what you get back is far less than going from 50 to 100 in the first place. Now, of course, enjoy what you enjoy, buy what you love, and if you happen to love £200,000 Patek Philippe's, then good for you, man, that's cool. But to me, it feels detached from where a lot of collectors that I know, some of them are extremely wealthy, some not so much. It feels very detached from where people's heads are at. People feel less enamoured by value, or sorry, cost, and more enamoured with value and enjoyment. And for me, their sense of fatigue at the sort of super high end. For example, you would be a very niche kind of collector if you couldn't look at some of what Patek Philippe have made in the past and not marvel at the technical achievement that these watches are. But of course, that's not the issue here, is it? That's not what's on trial. What's on trial is the emotional connection that I think is becoming an increasingly loud voice in watch collecting around the very, very high end of our market. Now we are living in a post-pandemic, refreshed cost of living landscape. When put through that lens, I don't think it's particularly unreasonable. I look at brands like Christopher Ward, Nomos, just to name a few, there's lots of course, that do really, really amazing things. Decent, good quality watches that offer something a little bit different at, you know, really competitive price points. You don't need to spend £50,000 to have fun with a watch. And I think most watch collectors realise that. Maybe it's just a wisdom I've acquired as I'm getting older. I'm creeping towards my 40th birthday. I turn 38 day after tomorrow, in fact. That a G-Shock or a Timex can bring just as much joy as one of my Rolexes, for example. So there we go. Hopefully I've been able to get my thoughts together in something which resembles a vaguely coherent way. This has been Walking with Watches. This is the beautiful Ashdown Forest. Please do feel free to subscribe, like, all the stuff the algorithm likes, and I will hopefully see you again soon. God bless, take care, you guys rule. Cheers. You know, there's a lovely little real ale pub that's about 5 miles from here that sells only cask ale and bitters and stuff. I mean, it's a bit early now, but while I edit, why not?